It is December 4th. This is Walter from the 20th Division Association Veterans History Project oral interview here with Michael Bimmler. And Michael, I want to thank you very much for your willingness to come in and talk with us a little bit about what you did in the military and tell us a little bit about your story.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, we'll get right into it.
Okay.
Let's start with some biographical details. Okay.
All right.
Where were you born?
I was born in Hazleton, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and raised in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
Jim Thorpe, yeah. My wife and I go up
Absolutely.
there once in a while. It's a nice place.
Yes, it is.
What were your parents or siblings feeling about your joining the service?
Well, I talked about it a lot with my family. My father had passed away in 1978 before he came in. My brother was an Army Ranger captain and served 4 years and then left that duty and went back to civilian life. So when I talked about it, I had first looked at going active duty in the Air Force as a pharmacy officer, and ended up, because of my dad dying, I didn't do that. I joined the National Guard. Don't regret it at all.
So family members were pretty much in
Oh yeah, my family members were supportive of any of that. Very patriotic. Aunts and uncles in World War II, father in World War II.
Yeah, that's great. What primary or secondary schools or college did you attend?
I went to St. Joseph's Elementary in Jim Thorpe. Then I went to Marion Catholic High School in hometown, Tamaqua area. Then I went to college. I went to Philadelphia College of Pharmacy and graduated from there in 1975.
Okay. What kind of jobs did you hold before entering the military?
Oh boy, I did all kind of things. To pay my way through college, I worked at this kind of a steel mill. It was Palmerton Zinc Company, where we produced ingots of zinc for use. I also worked making ties in a tie factory. I worked for the county one summer doing some odd jobs. And then I got my license, came out of pharmacy school, got my license, and ended up working in a local pharmacy. So I went into retail pharmacy, and at night I moonlight in the local hospital.
Okay. What did you do at the hospital? Work in the pharmacy department?
Yeah, I was a licensed pharmacist at that point. So
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about when you went into the military?
And like I said, I was looking into the military as an active duty, and then decided on the National Guard, and I went into that process about sometime in '79, late '78. Took me a while to get it through. There wasn't a real understanding of, on the recruiter's part, of direct commissions. So I had to kind of help them through that process. They didn't really know what to do with the pharmacist, I guess.
And you joined at 28th right from the very beginning? 28th.
I did.
What was the easiest part of your military life? Do you remember?
I think it was difficult at first, but because of my age, I was in my mid to late 20s. I wasn't 18 years old and, didn't understand authority. Yeah. and people scream at you, but that's okay. It's going to stop eventually as you do what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know if that answers that question.
Yeah. Did you deploy to a combat zone?
I did. I deployed with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team to Ramadi, to Iraq.
2007?
2005.
2005, right.
Yeah. Colonel Bronsky.
And Colonel Bronsky, yeah. And what was your position there?
Well, it's funny because the National Guard changes positions quite often. So I was with DISCOM. I was the executive officer of DISCOM, and I had been putting people into the Manning bubble, into the Manning chart. And Colonel Coulter, who was originally slated to go to Ramadi, called me up and said, "Hey, we just got a surgeon's position authorized, and we need to fill it. And I had been with him in Iraq, in Bosnia. So I said, okay, so that means I'm either going to get an order or I'm going to say yes right now. And I figured, okay, I'll go. I'll sign up with you guys. I didn't know any of those folks from the 2nd Brigade because it's a Western PA unit. But the hardest part as being the surgeon was to get everybody's ducks in a row and training done with the medics, combat lifesavers, manage the PAs that were full-time. We spent a lot of time in Camp Shelby getting people through the physical requirements because if you don't get through the MO platform, somebody else is going to go.
Okay.
So we did try a lot to do that.
Mike,
So I don't know if that answers it. I ended up, because the active Army were providing surgeons, we didn't know we were getting a full-time active duty surgeon, but not until we got in country. So for 8 months, maybe, it was on me to do both jobs, and I had been through that lane before, so I didn't have a problem.
that's pretty typical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No matter what position you're in.
Yeah, right.
How did your combat or wartime experience change you, or did it change you at all?
Well, I think it did much more than I really realized. I came up with an attitude that I was in my 50s, early 50s. It was a given that I wasn't going to be an 18-year-old running around like a crazy person. But, you know, my attitude on it really changed the fact that life is really, really, you know, it's serendipity is all over our lives. So I was worried for the wrong reasons, you know, obviously, because you can't control the environment. You can't say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be okay. You know, you just roll with it and adapt to it.
Yeah. Did you establish friendships or a certain camaraderie with anyone while you're serving? And then have you continued to foster those relationships since?
Yeah, I have. I got to, and in both tours, the Bosnia tour was a little bit different. It was a peacekeeping mission. But the 2nd Brigade took me as one of their own, and really, it was a fantastic experience being with those guys. I still go to the reunions when I can make it. It's out in Washington, PA. I haven't been to one in a while. I gotta get myself over there.
Did you, or how did you stay in touch with your family and friends when you were deployed?
Well, you know, the interesting thing about that has evolved. Originally, when I was in Bosnia, you had to get time on Skype, or you had to go to a computer room to get some kind of connectivity with the United States. In Iraq, it was much different. You had email capability from your desk all the time. You know, it was easy to keep in contact with my daughter. I have 2 daughters, so it was easy to get in contact with them.
Did they have satellite time available too?
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't use much of it. I didn't need to.
What did you do for recreation when you were deployed?
Softball, gym, riding a bike.
Yeah.
You know, when I became the base commander of Camp Ramadi, I just walk a lot. You know, the base is small. It was 1/4 mile by 3/4 miles with a big wall all around it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy to keep myself contained within that area.
Do you recall any particular humorous events from your deployments, either Bosnia or Iraq?
Oh, so many. To pin it down to one, let me think. I know during the train up, the land nav course was an interesting concept, and this goes back to my OBC days that you learn to go do night land nav, and I remember the group leader that I was with, we had, I guess, a squad. He didn't listen to anything I was saying with a compass. And the next thing I know, he's into a pond,
Yeah.
all sloppy.
Was there anything you did during your deployments for good luck?
No, I left the luck to the security guys.
Yeah, it's probably wise.
They had their own little ways of doing things. And I figured, it'll be luck if I get home, especially in Ramadi. So I didn't worry too much about it.
What was the best part of your service experience?
I think making an impact on the people, whether it was Bosnia with all of the locals and going into schools, or it was in Ramadi, just making sure that all the medical facilities were running.
Yeah, okay. Do you recall the last day of your service?
It was pretty bittersweet. And I guess by that you mean the day I retired.
Yes.
Yeah. So many people who had mentored me or had been with me through that period, most of my career, were at the retirement ceremony. So it was pretty nice to see some of these gentlemen who were my mentors or my subordinates and catch up with them.
Yeah, that's nice. How did you readjust to civilian life? How'd that work for you?
I had worked for Merck Medco, which is one of Merck's subsidiaries. So they actually closed the plant in Mechanicsburg and offered me a job in either Las Vegas or Pittsburgh or Texas, because I was licensed in different states. But I chose not to do that, and I just went into retail pharmacy with a concentration in long-term care, and did that. But I think I spent maybe 3 weeks at home, and then off I went back to work.
Yeah.
And talk about an eye-opening experience. You're all of a sudden you're back, you're out of Iraq, and you're sitting in the drugstore and all the things that retail pharmacy is, and you're thinking, okay, the little things, huh? They're the most important things, not some of the things that were brought up to me.
Not staying alive, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I did, and one experience that I guess I should talk about was I guess maybe it was more than 3 weeks, probably a month. But I was taking my daughter to school. She went to Trinity High School, and over in Iraq you swaddle the lanes. So the 283 has 4 lanes. I was driving down the middle of the lane, and my daughter said, "Dad, you got to catch this because you can't be driving down the middle of the road. You got to pick a side." And I thought, gee, that's so much different than down Michigan Avenue in Ramadi, where
Sure.
that's where the IDs were on the 2 sides of the road. So
Yeah.
that's probably as funny as it gets.
How has your service overall changed you?
I'd make eye contact a lot more than I used to. I think some of it is, I always have been laid back, procrastinator prior to the military. When I get in the military, I found out that, things are designed a certain way. So you gotta hit these timelines, and did well, but now I'm reverting back to my procrastinating state.
Maybe it's time to re-up.
Yeah, maybe.
Did you join any veteran organizations besides the association here?
VFW, American Legion.
You stay active with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I've just moved. I moved from Harrisburg. I lived in Harrisburg for 28 years. I moved to the Malvern area, Phoenixville.
Yeah.
And I haven't hooked up with them yet, or moved my membership, because I still belong to
You should be
Lower
able to move
Allen.
the membership.
Yeah, I can move it. So I assume some time I will.
You talked before about trying to get to the 28th ID, or the 2nd Brigade's reunion, so it's been a
Right.
while since you've attended any reunions.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah. I think we'll probably have one next year, maybe 24.
You talked a little bit before about your experiences and how it affected you, your military experience. What are some of the life lessons from your military service that you would be interested in sharing, let's say at a high school class, if they asked you to come in and talk to them?
Well, I think to a high school class, you'd have to I would stress the fact that, take every opportunity that's given to you. Even if you don't think that that's right for you, just go ahead and do it, because experience is all what life's about. I could kick myself for not doing that. I thought, okay, I got a degree, I got a license. I don't need to use the GI Bill when I should have probably did that and learned to fly maybe or something. But I think kids today, if they could look into all the opportunities that are out there, that's probably the biggest thing I would tell them.
So I was going to ask you about the GI Bill. So you did not use the GI Bill for education?
Nope. Okay. No, I always tell a story that I went in the Army after I went to college, and did it opposite of the way everybody else seems to do it, and it's worked out.
Mike, is there anything that I did not ask you that you wish I would have?
Well, in my area of expertise, some of the things that I saw or did in Ramadi as a mass cow, wounded warriors, that kind of changed me. I'm sure it has. I don't recognize how it's changed me, but there's something about the first casualty event that I saw. The Marine truck had been hit, and there were multiple amputations. There were 5 or 6 guys that were brought in. I remember saying to myself, "Man, this is real. This is what we're going to be dealing with for the next year." And it got easier, as you progressed and you understood you can't help everybody, you can't get them all back. We did something like 600 casualties that we managed through the medical facilities.
Yeah.
It's probably all that I can think of.
Okay. Well, listen, Colonel, General,
Whatever.
I want to thank you very much for your willingness to come in and talk with us and to record your story. That will be uploaded to the database that the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs is working on right now, and that will be hopefully next year sometime, so that researchers, your family members, whomever can log on there and listen to you tell your story a little bit. And if there's any documents that you may have that you'd want to add to that file, just let me know, and we can scan those, and we can take care of that too.
Yeah, there were a good bit. There were a lot, I guess, of incidents that happened. One of the things. Let me go back and talk about another funny.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I had one of our dentists from 28th was coming over, and they rotated every 3 months. So I used to have to find out who was coming, because it was Pennsylvania and other states, and then direct them to where they were going to be for the next 3 months. It was like herding cats. But John Horn, who's a colonel up at the MedDet, I think he's MedDet commander, came into town, and he sent me an email, or gave me a call, I guess, and said to me, "Oh, I'm here. Where's the unit? Can somebody pick me up?" And the funny thing was, we weren't in Ramadi yet. We were still in Kuwait. And I said, "Well, John, you're going to have to get a ride up there, because we're not there yet." So John got there ahead of everybody.
Yeah. Pathfinder. Huh?
Yeah, funny. Really funny.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, I think the primary thing that I look at, looking back, there were some people who helped me out, just coping with where we were. Sergeant Major Peischer, or Regis Cardiff, Colonel Gronsky. They managed to help you get through the tough times. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Forney, a lot of guys that I had known in previous positions, kind of took you under their wing. A lot of the backfill were people who were coming out of DISCOM that I was familiar with as being the chief of staff at DISCOM. So it was I knew where I needed to go if I needed to get my hair down and move over. I did actually end up being assigned to Camp Blue Diamond as the commandant. The Marines had moved out of there I guess probably in January. So I spent Christmas of '05 with the Marines, learning the job. And then when they left, I guess it was about the 11th of June or 11th of January, I took over that job. And that was an interesting. Probably AMID officers never get kind of command of a fire base in FOB, so it's
That's pretty unique.
yeah, it was pretty unique.
Yeah,
Colonel Gronsky asked me about it. I thought, okay, as I said before, you got to grab every opportunity, and if somebody asks you to do something and you can, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's life's all risks.
It's good advice.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks again.
Thank you.